Pum pa-dum pa-dum pum. Yay!
Hello everybody. Welcome to the very first INFJ primary function, Save the World. I prepared a map, so let me explain that first. This is Earth, and this, denoted by the M, is the moon. There we go. And see the white area? Okay. This is space. And notice, not to scale. All right. So for anyone who sees with this ruler and says, well, why didn't I use the ruler? You know what I use the ruler for? This straight line. And it says 0 to question mark. I have no clue how to scale this. I mean, I know how to scale this. I choose not to. Today, I wanted to explore an idea for saving the world from economic ruin. So, how do we create jobs? Do you guys watch Star Talk? Neil deGrasse Tyson and Chuck Nice talk about different aspects of science and our place within the universe. And in one episode, they had Brian Greene on, talking about CERN and the God particle. And Tyson, who is a scientist that believes in evidence above all else, was taunting Greene. And after Greene was obviously taking it personal, just kidding, Tyson asked him, so what's the next step? What do you need so that we can get the evidence? And Greene said, we need a bigger one. So let's explore this. First, what is CERN? Wikipedia says the European Organization for Nuclear Research, known as CERN, is a European research organization that operates the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. Several collaborations run experiments using the LHC, the most powerful accelerator in the world. In addition, fixed target experiments, antimatter experiments, and experimental facilities make use of the LHC injector chain. Basically, imagine what type of information you could collect from two cars colliding into each other. With this machine, you can collect data as to what happens when two electrons collide into each other, if you can get them to collide at all. Do you notice how both experiments are similar, yet they vary in size? But the biggest difference is the amount of energy that is required in order to accelerate electrons as opposed to accelerate the vehicles. The type of scientific experiments they are conducting there can literally rip a hole in the time-space. And it's in Paris. I don't know about you, but I don't want to rip a hole in Paris. Like, I want to visit there one day. So, why did we put such a dangerous thing on Earth? Having a perfectly good moon just orbiting around us, doing nothing. Today, we're going to explore how putting a H.A.R.D.O.N collider on the moon will help us save the world. CERN's structure has a tunnel 17 miles in circumference, and it took 10 years to build. And the moon is a little more than 6,000 miles in circumference. Either we go big, or we just leave it here at home. You know Murphy's Law? Eventually, we may destroy ourselves because we don't know how to respect the power of our discoveries. So, why don't we put our very own H.A.R.D.O.N collider around the moon? This would give physicists a better, bigger idea of all the things that they need to know and test. And for anyone who is religious, if I knew someone found the God particle and you could just send your prayers through email, I'd be all about that. And For all of those who are not religious, what do you care if other people think it's going to be that simple? Ye of little faith. In order to build the H.A.R.D.O.N collider on the moon, we would need resources. Today it costs $10,000 to put 1 pound of payload into orbit. But how much would it cost if we could get all of our materials from Mars that has a thinner atmosphere and therefore takes less energy to lift off? Which, by the way, this is a good moment to mention that the Perseverance rover has already been sent to Mars in order to analyze the terrain, whether or not water can be extracted from Mars, and what kind of minerals and deposits may be found there. So resources. Oh, and also it has a really cool helicopter, just saying. So if we could gather the materials from Mars and we already have a perfectly good moon orbiting us, then what else do we need? How do we build it? I suggest that on the surface of the moon, we also build apartments. Not like the apartments on Earth, obviously, but it would be, rent control. But it would be for the workers, the people who are going to build the H.A.R.D.O.N collider on the moon. Because yeah, you could just build it with robots, but then did we really build it? Also, wouldn't it be in NASA's best interest to have a larger population of people who have seen exactly how unflat the Earth is? And then maybe it would be easier to make it illegal to spread such lies that the Earth is flat. And we could just send them to jail on the moon so they can learn from their mistakes. And then, just to add insult to injury, we would make them take science lessons while they're there and they can't come back to Earth until they pass. Just brainstorming. How would we build this housing system? For example, we have all these shipping containers that we could easily repurpose for this. They are 20 feet and 40 feet in length and 8 feet 6 inches in height and depth. There is a type of spray that is an insulator, and once dry, it is very difficult to break. So businessmen of the world unite. You could easily make the shipping containers for different research groups. But this can turn into the mayhem of phone chargers that we know today. Meaning, you all need to get on the same page as to how these pieces will interconnect in space, because competition drives innovation. But in space, we're all in this together. We could use these shipping containers to spray them with this dry insulator and mass produce a housing system that can be built and expanded on at any moment we need more space. The H.A.R.D.O.N collider laborers will require spacesuits, but also, what if we create space fashion? Do you remember Star Trek? Do you remember their uniforms? Now, I'm not suggesting we copy their style, but think about how fashion has been a unifying characteristic of humanity. How many other apes do you know that wear clothing? None. Everybody is always trying to answer this difficult question. What separates us from the animals? Fashion. There. You can cross it off your list of curiosities. I suggest comfy pajamas and slip-on shoes for the workers on their free time, where they will be able to spread their experience through social media. Most of our textiles are made in India. So heads up, India, time to start asking NASA what their parameters are for uniforms in space. But what about the movie The Martian? What if something happens and we need to grow potatoes to survive? I suggest you bring more ketchup. Just kidding. The workers can also spend part of their free time doing their part of the chores, which would include time in the greenhouse collecting veggies for their meals. FYI, I know a bunch of short Mexicans that would love to go to space to build the H.A.R.D.O.N collider there. And they are multi-talented. They know construction and they know farming, so they're really awesome people, right? Right? I'm just saying, cheap labor. All that NASA would need to do is create an engineering certification because laborers would need to be engineers, right? And Mexicans are smart. Maybe they don't send their best because their best stayed behind, which means the not so best outsmarted the most powerful man in the world with a tunnel. I'm just saying, if I was Mexico, I would make a contract straight with NASA to provide the laborer engineers and NASA provide the online course, the travel permit, and the test site on NASA. And after their working cycle, they can return to their home and share their experience. And in this way, they would be enriching their community. And with money, of course, it should be a paid job. Because immigrants, we get the job done. Also, we should send artists just to do art and chores, like having a museum residency. We could put the first art gallery in space on the moon and have some artists create zero gravity art, which is not as easily done on Earth. Also, if you study different society structures, one sign of a thriving society are artists. We are not thriving without artists. By the way, I am including comedians in this category, so Chuck Nice, I nominate you. Further, comedians are excessively good at describing things and experiences while sharing it with an audience. With humor, even physics is interesting to learn. Besides size and distance, the moon and Mars have very different environments to offer. Mars has storms from time to time, like the one we saw in The Martian that destroys his greenhouse. The moon does not have storms. Also, the moon is protected from collisions by the gravitational pull of Earth. If a meteor per se would be in direct trajectory with the moon, the closer it got to the moon, the closer it would also get to Earth, and it would change its trajectory to the stronger gravity. I gotta be honest, this living situation, to me, is not the hardest problem. Especially since we already have astronauts orbiting Earth that are living in space. So we have most of the things, worked out, like oxygen and such. But the most difficult problem that I see is the toilet situation, because the toilets in space are not like the toilets on Earth for obvious reasons. Earth has gravity, space does not. Do you guys know this experiment? If you take a bucket of water and tie a rope to the handle and then swing it around, holding onto the rope and letting the bucket swing in full circles, the water won't spill. What if next to the H.A.R.D.O.N collider that is going to be built all the way around the moon, we also have a type of Ferris wheel, and then it spins. It will create that fake gravity and make going to the toilet a lot less difficult. Well, that in fiber. Once we have a structure on the moon, scientists can take up experiments that require more space. Once the infrastructure is already in place for the scientists to live, it will make it easier and cheaper in the long run. Further, I've heard Tyson talk about what a spiritual experience it is to be in the dead of night looking through a telescope. It's just you, the telescope, and the expanse of space. The expanse of the universe, I think it's how he said it. So, Why can't we explore this as the next spiritual step in human evolution? We could send our prophets to the moon on pilgrimage and then have them come back to our communities and spread the good word. I always admire how doctors have to do a residency even though they've been studying for years and years. And every other type of scientist is just as necessary, but we the people don't get to see them in our daily lives like we do doctors. How much would it benefit science if more PhDs would have to donate their time in order to go where the people are, not just to the universities, and help people understand what their findings are and how it enriches their lives? But that's a whole other video. I also wondered why we're still building telescopes on Earth. Because there was this big controversy about building another telescope in Hawaii. The scientists felt that being close to other scientists in that region allowed for comparing notes, which helps everybody. The Mauna Kea Kiai, I'm so sorry. The native peoples of Hawaii, they feel that this location is sacred to them because it was deemed so by their ancestors, and it is a very important part of their culture. I wonder, when the first people arrived to Hawaii, I wonder how many more stars in the night sky there were. I wonder if you even needed a telescope. Maybe the very same spiritual experience Tyson describes is that same feeling the first settlers of Hawaii felt. But part of the reason that we want to build in Hawaii is the atmosphere. But the moon has none. So why aren't we building telescopes there? Imagine standing on the surface of the moon, just you, your telescope, the silence, and space. Further, with a big enough compound and with enough people coming and going, we might have to establish a type of security personnel, because at the end of the day, we are just apes. As great as we think we are, we cannot escape our most basic instincts. Why would the moon be any different? So, I propose that we get a group of short women. I would much rather put the responsibility of people's lives on the people who create it. So I would like to see the culture of space security guards be that when you see a woman standing guard, you immediately understand that she is the law. Further, I think we should make guns in space illegal right now. Guns in space don't help anybody. Second Amendment aside, any perforation in space will cause the air pressure to go down to 0, and it'll create a vacuum and everyone will die. So, if the security guards are not to have guns or pepper spray or tasers or batons, then how will they protect and keep the peace? Well, I suggest that we make all these short women specialize in wrestling. For example, the Gracie Barra Jiu-Jitsu family have already established a culture where women can thrive as wrestlers. If I was NASA, I would make a contract with Gracie Barra to train and supply female security guards for space. And then maybe NASA can supply the zero-gravity training grounds so that Gracie Barra can take Jiu-Jitsu to the next level, zero-gravity Jiu-Jitsu. To the people who are not assigned female at birth, please do not feel attacked or that anyone is trying to leave you out. Physiologically speaking, XX chromosomes do better in space than XY. We have a H.A.R.D.O.N collider that is going to bring us closer to our understanding of physics, and a toilet that will have some semblance of gravity so that we can poop in peace. And we have security that can be trusted to truly protect human life. What about entertainment? Eventually, people will want to go just to hang out and see for themselves what the big fuss is all about. Do you know what soapbox races are? So people build the vehicles powered by gravity, made out of cardboard boxes with tires underneath them, and they race on a downhill track. The modern evolution of this idea is the Red Bull human-powered flying competition. What if we had some competition in space, where engineers or students would be sponsored to build a soapbox for space? I know it feels hard, but it wouldn't be a H.A.R.D.O.N collider if it wasn't hard. Did you know you can point a laser at a sail in space and create forward motion? Let's make all these homemade laser sails and race them around the moon. And we can televise it on Earth, and everyone can feel like they are a part of something bigger than themselves. Or space Quidditch. Universal. Call NASA. So now the question. How does this save the world? First, this would give us more opportunities to create global harmony by creating projects that require multinational cooperation. You don't need to make up an example. The examples already exist. Do you know how many people sent their names on Perseverance? 10,932,295. Now, imagine if all of those people paid $1 towards building the H.A.R.D.O.N collider on the moon. Do you know how many people are in the Planetary Society? 73,000 plus. So what if each of them pays $1 too? Together, that would be $11,005,295.53. No, just kidding. And how many $1 payments would we need to make in order for the H.A.R.D.O.N collider to belong to us, the people, not corporations? We are very upset at the repercussions of leaving the safety and health of Earth to corporations. But if you don't want them to own everything, then you have to be willing to pay for it instead. And in closing, when deep space exploration ramps up, it'll be corporations that name everything. The IBM Stellar Sphere, the Microsoft Galaxy, Planet Starbucks. Like everyone else, I had become a slave to the IKEA nesting instinct. I would flip through catalogs and wonder, what kind of dining set defines me? We used to read pornography. Now it was the H.A.R.D.O.N collection. I had it all. Even the glass dishes with the tiny bubbles and imperfections, proof they were crafted by the honest, simple, hard-working people of wherever. Bob was a champion bodybuilder. You know, that chest expansion program you see on TV? That was his idea. Strangers with this kind of honesty make me go a big rubbery one. Then something happened. I was lost in oblivion. Dark and silent and complete. I found freedom. Losing all hope was freedom. I became addicted. You wake up at O'Hare. You wake up at SeaTac, Pacific, Mountain, Central, lose an hour, gain an hour. This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time. If you wake up at a different time and in a different place, could you wake up as a different person? Everywhere I travel, tiny life. Single serving sugar, single serving cream, single pat of butter, microwave cordon bleu hobby kit, shampoo conditioner combo, Single serving mouthwash, tiny bar of soap. The people I meet on each flight, they're single serving friends. Between takeoff and landing, we have our time together, but that's all we get. On a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everyone drops to 0. I'm a recall coordinator. My job is to apply the formula. It's a story problem. A new car built by my company leaves somewhere traveling at 60 miles per hour. The rear differential locks. The car crashes and burns with everyone trapped inside. Now, do we initiate a recall? Take the number of vehicles in the field, A, and multiply it by the probable rate of failure, B. Then multiply the result by the average out-of-court settlement, C. A times B times C equals X. Every time the plane banked too sharply on takeoff or landing, I prayed for a crash or a mid-air collision, anything. No more haircuts, nothing matters, not even bad breath. Life insurance pays off triple if you die on a business trip. There are 3 ways to make napalm. 1. Mix equal parts of gasoline and frozen orange juice. 2. Equal parts gasoline and Diet Cola. 3. Dissolve kitty litter in gasoline until the mixture is thick. I mean, you did lose a lot of nice, neat little shit. The trendy paper lamps, the Euro trash shelving unit, am I right? But maybe, just maybe, you've been delivered. Delivered from armchairs in obscure green stripe patterns. Delivered from bullshit colors like cobalt, ebony, and fuchsia. Oh yeah, you gotta start making the list. Now I get to go out and buy the exact same stuff all over again list. That list. This time maybe get a widescreen TV. You'll be occupied for weeks. The things you own end up owning you.